Okay, Odie Hawkins here. We missed yesterday because it was Memorial Day, and we decided we would pay homage to the veterans who served in the Second World War, who gave their lives. And we thought, yeah, let's suspend the thing for a day.
For all the soldiers, especially
all you know,
that have gone for the principal ideas.
You said it, so you said it. So here we are, Tuesday, and we are continuing the thing. This particular column is called "To African Americans, Ghana is it, even with his Jerry ship." I have to explain. I went to Ghana in 1992, and at the time, Jerry Rawlins was the president of Ghana, and a lot of people called him his Jerry ship because he seemed like such an imperial figure. Actually, he turned out to be a pretty good guy, because unlike a lot of other military figures who had gained power in West Africa, he didn't overstay his welcome. Matter of fact, he came into power 2 times. The first time he came into power, he said that he thought that the country was being run badly. He was a lieutenant in the Air Force, in the Ghanaian Air Force. I'm sure they had about 15 planes. And he decided to take the government over and to try to do something about it, and he did. And everybody said, okay, here we go into the kind of dictatorship that we had under Mobutu and some other kind of people. He didn't do that. Once he felt that matters had been straightened out, he retired. Unbelievably, he went back into where he was. And then he began to see some other stuff happening, and they were falling back into the same kind of corrupt thing that was happening. So he pulled off a second coup. And straightened things out. It was unbelievable, because we know with Mobutu and Mugabe and these people who have tried to remain in power in Africa as long as they could remain in power, it's unusual for somebody to say, okay, I want to come in and straighten things out and then go back into my real thing. So he became a heroic figure to some people, but at the same time, amongst certain Ghanaians and some Nigerians, they started calling him his Jerry ship. His name was Jerry Rawlins. And incidentally, he was Ewe Scotch. His father was Scotch, his mother was Ewe. And he got around that. You know, he says, you know, first I'm Ghanaian first, and then you can check my DNA later. So having said all of that, let me say some of this.
On with the reading.
To African Americans, Ghana is it, even with his Jerry ship. As most of us know, there are many Ghanaians who are quite annoyed with their president, Jerry John Rawlins. They think he's been on the stool too long, and they sarcastically refer to him as his Jerry ship. However, they are fully cognizant of the fact that he has had a good relationship with the IMF and the World Bank, which funnels ducats into the Republic that they wouldn't receive if they were a different kind of man or woman on the stool. On the stool I'm referring to is what they do when people become leaders of certain kinds of republics, tribes, nations. They say he seated him on the stool. He was seated on the stool. He has been installed.
Okay.
Additionally, when those who call him his Jerry ship look up and down the coast of West Africa, they have to concede that Ghana is indeed the black star of West Africa. Since gaining independence from England in 1957, the country has had an unprecedented stretch of relative peace and prosperity, and under President Rawlings, whether they love him or not, they do not live in a country that has suffered the agonies of Angola, Congo, Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, or Mauritania. This is not a brief for the Rawlings regime, but rather an objective assessment of the present-day situation in Ghana. Incredibly, Ghana, of all the West African states, has been the only one to actively encourage African Americans on a large scale to return with investment dollars, to be sure, but nevertheless to return. Since the earliest days of its independence under Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, African Americans have been cordially welcomed and treated with respect. Nkrumah's gift of an estate to W.E.B. Du Bois in Accra was just one example of Ghana's attitude toward African Americans. We were there. We sat on the estate. We wrote notes and drank beer and had a good time.
Had a good time.
Of course, there are Ghanaians who don't like Americans, period. And African Americans who don't like Africans. We live on crooked streets.
Well said.
We live on crooked streets. Some say that Nkrumah's education at an American university was responsible for his hospitable treatment of W.E.B. Du Bois, my French is coming out,
I see.
Du Bois,
Yes, of course.
and other African Americans. Perhaps the fact that they have been traditionally welcomed for whatever reason is irrefutable. Thus far, Ghana is the only West African country to offer formal apologies to African Americans for its participation in the transatlantic business. It was done at ceremonies during Panafest 1984. Of course, the gesture was purely symbolic. I don't think any living Ghanaian could be held responsible for the actions of his forefathers any more than we can hold individual Englishmen or Euro-Americans responsible for the sins of their ancestors. But the gesture was made. The thin line that has to be drawn concerns reparations. The Ghanaian entrepreneurs were paid for their merchandise. The enslaved merchandise. The human beings and their descendants should be compensated for bringing the slave-using states, America, England, Portugal, etc., to the various levels of affluence that they enjoy today. As we all know, America would not be America had it not been for us. I'm talking about us. We built this powerful, rich place. There are few who are willing to admit that, even now, but one of the reasons why the west coast of Africa lingers in the depths of the third world, this is Chairman Mao's designation, stems from the great loss of healthy people that it suffered to lose during the peak years of the African Holocaust. They picked out the healthiest, they picked out the strongest, they denuded the country of people. Finally, recently, the Deputy Minister of Tourism for the Republic of Ghana, Oraka Amofa, led a delegation of government officials and business people on a 13-city visit to the U.S., seeking investments in business and or tourism ventures in Ghana. The Honorable Deputy Minister Amofa extended invitations to 3 major events to be held in Ghana in 1999. The African Travel Association Congress of 99, Panifest 2000, and Emancipation 99. His juryship, this is Rollins, may not always be aboard, but Ghana will always be there. Think about a trip. Think about a trip to
Ghana.
Ghana. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for being attentive.
Yes.
Zolas, thank you so much for being the wonderful person and director and love person and wife that you are. And you brought us all up to speed at the right time.
Okay.
And I got to say, you have to say.
Your website is www.odiehawkins.com. Your books can be purchased online in some African stores, African American stores. Just Google Odie Hawkins and you'll get to see. Also, you might even Google Odie Hawkins radio plays, for they are sold on they're also being sold.
Radio plays?
Yes, are sold on the internet. Unfortunately though, he does not get royalties for his radio plays. But moving on.
Yeah.
Ness.